What is up, my fellow cheddars? My name is Sebastián, and welcome to another episode of Seba Reviews. And today we're reviewing the grand, epic, the giant movie event of the year, or at least one of them. And of course, I'm talking about Zack Snyder's Justice League, because that's how they title it. They don't title it the Snyder Cut Justice League or whatever. They just call it Zack Snyder's Justice League, which I think is a very appropriate title for this movie. Of course, it's somehow you don't know how we got to this situation. I'll tell you very briefly, like the whole story of why we're watching the different Justice League movie. As many of you know, Zack Snyder was the one that originated this DC universe, which of course Man of Steel, and he continued with Batman v Superman. And for a while, he hasn't done a movie since. He let other people do movies, but he was supposed to come back to do Justice League. That's his whole vision. He had a whole plan laid out for how he wanted this universe to work. And he was sort of getting into it. And I think this movie was originally supposed to be like a 2-movie deal, I think was gonna be. Or they was gonna expand it a little bit longer. But during the movie production of this movie, something very unfortunate happened with his daughter Autumn. Which if you want to find out what happened, just look at the news. I'm not gonna talk about it. I just don't really want to get into that. But you know, something very, very tragic happened to him, and so he had to just stop doing the movie. But of course, Warner Brothers wanted to continue moving forward this movie, so they got Joss Whedon, who did the Avengers movies, which is a whole controversy about him. Apparently, he's like sexual offender. So if that's true, well, fuck you. So we had the version that we ended up having back in 2017 with Justice League, which I will tell you that when I saw that movie back in the day in the theater, I remember enjoying it. I was like, wow, man, this is something I wanted to see, something a little brighter, something more with personality, some humor. Like, this is the kind of energy I needed in this universe. I was just having fun and laughing. I was like, man, this is a good movie. I mean, there's some really bad stuff in it, but I'm like, this is good. I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. And then later on as time went on, people were saying like, no, this movie sucks. And I'm like, really? Why do people just not like this movie? And before I saw the Zack Snyder version, I saw this original, or I guess the main movie. Like, this is supposed to be the one in canon, I guess, which I'll talk about that later. But I saw this beforehand, before watching this one. Oh my god, this movie sucks. So as the review, I will talk about how both movies compare to each other and like which one is better in my opinion. But oh my god, I'll just say right now, this movie that we ended up having sucks. So well, yeah, I'm not the huge fan of like the Zack Snyder's vision so far, because I did see Man of Steel recently and I actually kind of enjoyed it. It was an interesting take. There were some great ideas in there. Some things were not executed that well, and the third act was just a mess. And Batman v Superman, I actually liked it this time around. I used to hate that movie. I used to hate Man of Steel, by the way. And I kind of liked at least the Ultimate Edition, but I still say it's not a good movie. I think it's quite bad, like quite terrible. Like, I give it like a 3 out of 10 because this is just a lot of bad stuff in that movie. It's not the worst movie. It's actually quite enjoyable in some parts, but I don't think I will watch it ever again, at least in a long time. But I was eager to see what was gonna do in this movie. Okay, like this is his full vision. Like they give him full reins. Like this is him trying to execute this plan that he's been having. Like apparently this is his last superhero movie, at least in the DC universe. So this is him going all out. You know, 4-hour-long movie, trying to put every idea that he wanted to do in this one movie. So well, again, I'm not the biggest fan of this vision. I was quite excited to see like, okay, what's he gonna do here? I mean, this is sort of ties into the universe, like, or maybe not. It's just kind of like an offshoot. Like this is not in the main line, but we finally get to see like what did he want to do. And people were clamoring for this shit. Like people were hyped up for this movie, like asking it for years to have this vision come out. And so we finally have it. So will people be satisfied with this new movie? Will people feel like they have what they deserve? We'll talk about it right now, so let's get to it. And also, no spoilers. I will not go into any spoiler details in this movie. If you want to see my full spoiler thoughts sneaking, wait till Sunday where I can just go full out of like my whole thoughts about it from beginning to end, and I will say like whatever I think about the whole movie, but no spoilers, don't worry about it, at least in this review. So yeah, it's a 4-hour-long movie, by the way. So I sat last night at like 9 p.m. or like 8, almost to 9, like around that range, and I finished this movie at like almost 1. I'm not kidding. Like, I didn't even stop this movie. Like, I barely stopped this movie. I barely rewinded some stuff to not miss some details. But yeah, like almost not having a break or anything, it took that long. It was kind of exciting because this is an event. This is something like, oh my god, like people were waiting for this. This feels like an epic event. Like I haven't felt this about a movie in quite a while. Even Endgame, which is a movie I was excited about, kind of felt like an event, but this feels very different. So I was excited, man. I ordered some pizza, like, got some beer, like, let's go. So I was full on ready for this. And just right from the beginning, I'm like, this is very interesting. This is a cool way to start the movie. And even the way, the format of the movie, which I didn't expect to go like this, because I saw it in the trailers, but I thought it's just for trailers' sake. But I didn't know that this movie was actually going to be in this 4:3 format, which I don't know. I haven't heard how many people think about this. I haven't heard any opinions about this, but I will say that I kind of enjoy the format, really. Like, okay, so you're not going to take advantage of the whole full screen and seeing the whole wide scope of the action or whatever we can see, but it actually works out. Like, I watched it on a pretty decent, like, pretty big plasma screen, almost like a 50, almost like a 60-inch screen. Even though it doesn't cover the whole screen, it's still awesome. Just the visual look alone is very interesting, is very unique, because a lot of times it felt like I was watching like a raw footage of like a 70s movie, like back in the day, but not like a 70s superhero movie, but like a raw drama movie from like the 70s, dude. Like, it felt like that sometimes. It kind of had that almost grainy look, and I loved it. And even the action, even the wider scope things that you would expect to see like in IMAX or something, still looks good in that 4:3 format. So I wonder, like, should other superhero movies follow this trend? I don't think so. I would still like a full screen or a widescreen, whatever you want to do. But I wouldn't mind if some other movies wanted to take this 4:3 approach, and not even just in superhero movies, like for other movies, because it really looked good. It makes the visuals pop. It made them look good. Even the contrast between like some green screen or whatever, it looked amazing, dude. The whole movie looks incredible. Like, there's barely any visual effects that look like, okay, that was so good with the CG. Like, most of, I'm not kidding, looked incredible. I can tell they put a lot of money in this. And just letting you know, like, Zack Snyder didn't even get paid for this movie. That's crazy. That's how much he wanted to do this movie, because he felt like he had to do this for the community, for the fans. Like, he didn't even get paid. That's just incredible. Like, you can tell that he just wanted to do this. But yeah, dude, like, this movie is gorgeous. This movie looks incredible, and the 4:3 format is interesting. It's a creative choice. I don't think it's gonna hit for everybody, but I think a lot of people appreciate that take, and I think it worked out. I think some people kind of enjoyed it. I'm not sure, but I really liked it. So yeah, I saw this one sitting, and I noticed that for the first hours, basically almost beat by beat what we saw in the original movie, but oh my god, I can tell there's a huge difference. There's a lot of difference. I love that even though we saw, like, even the plot-wise, this whole movie's basically the same. There are some things later on that maybe take quite a turn, but for the most part, at least for the first half of the movie, even like by the latter half, it's really the same movie that we saw back in 2017. The major differences are they flesh out a lot of parts, they add in a lot of things, and they take some parts that they kind of just put aside in the movie, like it's not supposed to be important, but they actually use that and make a whole scene, a whole sequence out of it. And like, okay, like even some parts that I saw in the original movie, that's just like, okay, this kind of sucked. They actually made it better and totally different, because that's the thing they do in this movie that Zack Snyder did, is that they took some parts that they kind of came off goofy, kind of cheesy, and kind of even lighthearted in some parts, and made it either dark or just intense. It just, you can tell these movies are completely different, and I appreciate that they take some moments and just flesh them out, and just again, the total shift. Oh my god. I'll say right now, these superheroes killed. In the original movie, not really. They didn't really kill. I mean, the parademons, I guess, they're not killing people, but holy shit, they kill some people in this movie. Because also, if you didn't know, this movie's rated R, and they take advantage of it. They don't go full on, like, rated R, like, oh, here's nudity and shit like that. They curse here and there, not that much, really. And there is some blood and stuff, but it's not excessive, it's not too much. It's not like Watchmen or 300 or something like that. Not really. So they don't go full on bonkers with that rating, but yes, you can tell this is a very mature movie, and the rating's kind of warranted by it. So of course, the big problem I have with these movies so far, at least with Zack Snyder's vision, is just having these superheroes murder people, especially Batman and Superman. I'm like, these are not the heroes. These are not the essence of the characters. They're not supposed to be killing people willy-nilly, man. I don't like that. So this movie, I kind of expected that, but I was like, you know what? I'm open more for that idea because it's not supposed to be completely tied into the universe. This is like his own thing. So whatever Zack Snyder wants to do, go for it, man. I'll watch it and I'll see how it works out. So chronologically, doesn't I mean, for example, Wonder Woman kills people in this movie. She fucking murders people. And I guess in Wonder Woman, because they do reference the first movie, like her own movie, actually does kill people. But I guess because we see it more graphically or more detailed, like it hits me, I'm like, oh, whoa. But I guess she killed people in her own movies, so it's not a big deal. But then seeing some other characters kill people, it's just weird, man. And I the way they do it, like, again, very R-rated version. This is what I'm thinking about. Like, if they wanted to continue this movie, like this universe forward from this movie, like if they decide, like, okay, we're gonna take this movie and we're gonna offspring from that, then I don't know if I want to see this for the rest of the movies and their own iterations and stuff like that. I don't know. But in here, it made it work, and I kind of just liked it. Maybe some of them I'm still like, okay, I'm not completely on board with that. But you know what? It didn't bother me that much. I just saw it. I enjoyed it for what it was. And I kind of admit some things were kind of cool. So yeah, I appreciate what they did with some parts to kind of flesh out some things, improve on some scenes. And I can tell, like, wow, just thinking again and watching the original movie again, you can tell they took a lot of things out from that movie and they just changed some things just to make it more fluffy and lighthearted and cute and funny. Just didn't work out in that movie. Like some moments in that original movie, it felt like a 60s superhero live action show. It's fucking terrible, dude. Just tonal wise, like I get what they wanted to do, but thinking about the previous movies and jumping straight to this one doesn't work out. It's not consistent. It just comes out of nowhere. So here it is very consistent. It's very consistent with what happened in the previous movies. So it's like if you watch Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, well, I guess Suicide Squad, and then Wonder Woman, and then this movie, and this makes a whole lot more sense. It just works better, it flows a little bit better, and you're like, it doesn't feel like this jarring contrast of tones. It feels consistent. So that's why I'm thinking, like, man, what if Zack Snyder actually kept his vision? Maybe a lot of people would have liked it. Maybe at the time I would not have liked it. But seeing this movie with his new perspective, I'm thinking, dude, he probably, if he was like the Kevin Feige of the universe, if at least it would have been more consistent. Not like I want every movie to have the same tone, dark and grimy, dire, sad tone. At least most of it kind of would have been more consistent. But I would have appreciated if they actually change some things like this with Shazam or even Aquaman movie, like, you know, change some tones here and there. But at least for, like, I don't know, some movies or like Justice League movies have that some consistency. And the thing is, like, a lot of people expect this movie to be like grimy and dark and kind of a bore, but no, man, there's actually some humor in this movie. And yes, there's some humor here and there in the first two movies. You know, if they're good, that's another debate. I don't think they were good at all. I mean, it's like for some moments, but in this movie it worked out a whole lot better. I thought this movie, although it's not crammed with humor, it's not completely funny, the moments where they have some levity and some humor, it works out, especially with Flash, Barry Allen, which I did not like him in the original movie. I thought he was so annoying. He was one of the worst parts of the movie because he's this dude who's just kind of awkward. I think maybe, I don't know, does he have some form of autism? I'm not sure. But he was just so annoying in that movie. And some of the things, like trying to make him like look at this like bumbling idiot who's like, oh my god, I don't know what to do here. Like, I'm nervous. Like I gotta appreciate that take because, you know, he is, you know, new to the scene, the superhero world, and trying to, you know, beat bad guys. But in this version, it worked out better because he was never doubting himself. He was never terrified of some things, although he was nervous about some things. But he was never like in the original movie, we're like, oh, I don't know about this. He's more confident. He's very smart in this movie. You can see his intelligence in here. It just works better. He's toned down, but he still brings that levity that we kind of need in this movie. And he works out perfectly. I actually love that. And he has some badass moments in this movie, especially one moment I'm like, wow, dude, I loved him in this movie. Loved him to death. Even some of the characters like Bruce Wayne and Batman, even the original movie, he was fine. I did like some things, but I remember being like, man, this Batman just feels a little hokey. I don't like this. Again, it doesn't work out with Batman v Superman, like this complete total shift of him. And just having this like humorous Batman in a way, I don't know. It didn't work out completely for me. But in this version, it works out a lot better because although he is a lot more lighthearted, he is a lot more positive. He is the person that ties everyone together and wants to have this unity. He's the one that keeps talking about like, hey, unity, we need to come together, we need to do this, we need to do this in honor of Superman, we need to do this. And I kind of believed him more in this movie. It worked out better. It didn't feel like this character is completely different, consistent to me. He felt like a guy who is developing, he's changing, and he's a lot better than who he was Batman v Superman. He's not this completely violent, brutal guy. Like, he has a lot more optimistic and a lot more hopeful, and I liked him. And even his lightheartedness and levity moments worked out a whole lot better in this movie. And I will say Wonder Woman, I think that's probably the best version I've seen of her. Because although I did love her in her own movie, did not like her that much in Wonder Woman 84, that's another thing. I loved her a lot more in this movie because although in her own movie, you know, she has a lot of emotional arcs and there's a lot of interesting stories with her in that own movie. And here it's just, she feels more emotionally mature and quite smarter and in control of herself. And she has some badass moments in this movie. She's fucking badass. I really loved her. So I think here, I loved her more because it wasn't completely different from who she was in her own movie. It wasn't like a complete change. It's still consistent with who she was, but I think there were some improvements in her character for being more confident and having her emotions more in check and being very smart. She does some things where I'm like, yes, dude, like, I love how she knows how to handle some things. I'm 2 steps ahead of you. I know what I'm doing here. So I loved this movie. I think Gal Gadot did an incredible job in this movie. Aquaman was very cool. I really liked him. I don't think he was in the movie that much. I think he was quite well enough in here. I think he still had a lot to do. He still has a lot of things to do, but I don't think he was in the movie that much. It wasn't like a huge player in the movie. Actually, I think they give Cyborg a ton of stuff in the original movie. Like, his story with his father was Silas Stone, which I think, I forgot the actor's name, but he was very good in this movie. I really love Silas Stone. He kind of did some more with that character than what he did in the original movie. I think his father was a very compelling, interesting character. And Victor Stone, it made him a huge character that I actually kind of was invested with. I liked his story. I liked who he was. I liked seeing his arc throughout the movie. Well, previously I didn't really like him. I'm like, why Cyborg here? I don't need Cyborg. Why can't we just have Green Lantern with us? Like, why would we need Cyborg? He's supposed to be the Teen Titans. But in here, I actually liked him a lot because he's this very calculated, smart, almost kind of stoic character, but still he's not very stoic because he has moments of levity. He does have some personality. He does have emotions. But I love that he's pretty in control of himself as well, and he does have his moments where he feels sad about stuff, and I really love them. I think Ray Fisher did an incredible job playing Victor Stone. He was incredible. But I feel like Aquaman himself, although he was great in the movie as well, I kind of just thinking about it again, like, yeah, he's not in the movie that much. It's not like he disappears from the movie. I'm just saying, like, we focus a lot more on these other characters, and even when they're in the team, we see more of what's going on with the other members. They do a lot of stuff with Aquaman. I'm not saying they don't do much with him, but I just felt like he was not a big player in the movie. Like, he was there, and he did a lot of stuff. He didn't really have a lot of story, but still, he was great. I think Jason Momoa did an incredible job as well. And Ezra Miller, though, I fuck him for choking a woman and just pay no consequences for that. But I have to say, he was great in this movie as well. Incredible job of having the humor, balancing the humor, but still having a character and some story and some drama into him, and just being a complete goofball. He was more toned down and incompetent. Because that's the thing in the original movie. He was not competent in that movie. And this one, holy shit, he's competent. And again, he has some incredible moments. I did like his story. They still don't do a lot of his own. Because again, in the original movie, they kind of all have some origins, but Barry Allen's just like, nah, he's just Flash. So in this version, they still kind of don't do much with that movie. So I don't know if they kind of expected that to be resolved in his own movie. But still, aside from that, I still love what they did with his character. I think they did a way better job than they did the 2017 movie. I loved him a lot. I couldn't believe I'm saying that I loved him in this movie, because I did not like him in the original movie. And of course, Henry Cavill as Superman, I thought he was good. I mean, again, he's not like a huge part of the movie. It almost kind of feels like they're not giving Superman the fair shake, man. But I think they give him a lot more respect in this movie, especially throughout the movie when he's not in it. They give him a lot of respect by dialogue, by mentioning what he did, his heroics. Although it's like, oh, we're gonna forget what the fuck happened in Metropolis, but whatever. Like, you feel his presence, you feel how important he is throughout the movie, even when he's not in it. Although they don't do much with that character, it's not like we have this time to like invest and develop this character. But he still is awesome. You still feel that character, Superman. And it's a thing, like, I hope if Zack Snyder can come back and make a sequel out of this movie, I would love to see more of this character in the team. I would love to see Man of Steel 2, but I don't know what the fuck's gonna happen with that. So it's like, man, but it's like, you did some great stuff with him in the movie, but I wish we had like a little bit more, but whatever. For what happened in this movie, I was like, you know what? I enjoyed him in here, and I think they did quite a good job. And like, he was very good. Henry Cavill was great. Like, they did some great stuff in here. I love him in the movie. Of course, there was the cast, like Amy Adams. She was pretty good. I think they did a way better stuff with her than the original movie. I can tell that she didn't want to be there. But Diane Keaton, and there's some other characters, and really like them more. Even Jeremy Irons as Alfred, I think they did a lot better stuff in here. I think this is the best Alfred we'll see from this DCEU. Like, this is the best I've seen from Alfred. Like, he was just great. He was funny. He still had that dry tone, but you can still see that he's also very invested into what's going on in the team. He loves Bruce Wayne. You can feel that fondness for each other. I love them in the movie. But also, the big things that made me love this movie, I will tell you, is the team. How they work with each other, how they feel for each other. You feel that unity. You feel the teamwork. You see them work together, and they actually are more competent in this movie than the original movie. That's for sure. You can feel that things are laid out. They know how to work with each other. Like, okay, you'll do here, I'll go here, like, you go through this, we'll work this together, and like, you can feel that teamwork. But other than that, I felt how they really care for each other. Even though they only met for like a span of days or whatever it is, but you felt that they care for each other, and especially in this dire situation, they connect more and they come more closer than ever. I loved it. I love this team. And I can just feel that camaraderie. I can feel that brotherhood for each other. And even the things for Avengers, I love those movies. Some of them. The thing is, I felt even those movies, I felt like, although they're a team, we don't see a lot of them, that connection with each other, that unity. There's really, well, some of these movies, they just break up. If we had more time together with these people, or maybe just do other things that we see that unity, I would have felt them more as a unit. It just feels like people, they're just together, but I don't feel like that family thing. And I felt that in here. And that's the thing, they didn't shoehorn it, they didn't force it in. You're like, oh, they're a family, goddammit. Like, no, they made it feel organically in a way that I felt like they're a family. They're just a team of people that work together and they care about each other. They're just not just like co-workers. They kind of like each other and they care about each other. Especially seeing that relationship between Barry and Victor, seeing that friendship, that bondness with each other. It was awesome. I would love to see that movie with them. I know that they're supposed to be together in a movie, in the Flash's movie. I don't know what the fuck's going on with that movie, but now seeing what they did here, hopefully they keep that spirit of what happened in this movie into future movies, because I really like that relationship. They worked well with each other. And of course, the villain, Steppenwolf, he's back in the movie. He was one of the big negatives in the original version. And although they give him a huge uplift, big ass motherfucker, and they change his voice as well. Although he's the same actor and everything, but I felt like they fleshed him out a whole lot more in this movie. Oh my god. Especially how you see his motivation. Like, of course, he wants to take over the world, blah, blah, blah. He's almost one note and basic, but you can tell that he also wants to do it for other reasons. You know, he wants to impress Darkseid. He wants to be in his good side. He wants to be with the gods. Like, he has some motivations going for him. He's just not just mustache twirling, I'm evil kind of deal. Like, you see some things fleshed out in that character. You see some development and some things fleshed out from that character. You know, he's not like a super completely complex character, but he has some things going for him. He's not just one note and super fucking dry like he was in the original movie. So I actually loved him. I actually loved him in the movie. And even Darkseid, although Darkseid's face sometimes looks weird. I was like, maybe they actually captured more of how he looks in the comics, or even what they did in the animated stuff. I think it would have been better, but even him in the movie, he's actually pretty cool. And there's also this movie, again, since Zack Snyder wants to do a lot of stuff in this movie, There's a lot of super like surprise reveals. There's a lot of cool like lore from the comic books, references. There's a lot of cool stuff that just makes fans and geeks like us just fucking explode because there's just cool stuff in here. A lot of cool stuff in here. And it didn't feel forced, by the way. It feels kind of organically. Like, well, there's maybe one thing I'm like, okay, I don't know about that. But still, in a way, it kind of worked out. I mean, this is stuff later on in the movie that, I don't know. Like, I don't know how that works out like by the end of it, but it was interesting. It piqued my curiosity, and I can't put like any negatives to it because I don't know the context of this. I don't know if this will end up being something more than what we just saw in the movie, but I kind of liked it because it was fucking awesome. And it's not just fan service for the sake of fan service and not adding up to anything. Like, I don't know, it just felt like these are things that are part of the story. It's not just like, oh, we're just cramming these things in here because it's cool, like, let's reference it here and there. Like, it felt like there's something laid out in here. There's some groundwork based off of and work with. It didn't feel like anything, except for, like, maybe one thing, but even that one thing kind of worked out for me. It didn't feel like anything was completely forced. And again, yes, it's a 4-hour runtime. I will say that the runtime kind of worked out for me. Other people say, like, oh, since this is split in 6 parts, you can just stop whenever you want and come back to it. I don't know. I don't know if that works out or not. I just saw it one sitting. But I will say, I think you kind of take away part of the experience because this feels like something you should sit down and do in one sitting. You know what I mean? And what I also love about this movie, it felt like a graphic novel. It's the first movie, except for Watchmen, really. Aside from Watchmen, this is the first movie I felt like I was actually watching a visual comic book come to life. This felt incredible, especially the way the 6 parts and like the title for each part. It felt like I was watching a comic book. And I love that angle. I don't know if like the 4x3 was supposed to make me look like I'm reading a book or something, but it worked out. I love it. It's the first movie that felt like this is a comic book. Not like the other stuff doesn't feel like comic books, but you know, this is the one that really feels like I'm watching, like I'm reading a page. Like words, like text bubbles are coming out of it. Like this felt like a comic book. And I love that. A lot of creative decisions in here that I love. And this is a movie, like, you feel like things wouldn't connect to DCU, but they do. There's a lot of things that connect with DCU, especially stuff like the reference and stuff, which I won't spoil. Like, a lot of things in here. I'm like, wow, this feels like it is a consistent continuation with the universe. It's not something that feels completely apart like I thought it would be. Like, I will say right now, this is supposed to be the Justice League movie that should have come out. This is the movie that should have come out. I'm not kidding. This is supposed to be the continuation. And this is the movie they should continue from. They should use this movie and continue the movies. I don't know if Zack Snyder wants to come back or they want him back or not, but I would love for this movie to be the offspring of the entire universe, not what they did with the original movie, which sucks. Is this movie better than 2017's Justice League? Miles better. I mean, dude, the original movie, I would give it like a fucking 3. And also, this movie takes some scenes that were already there, and I thought like, oh my god, these scenes are like the best stuff from that original movie, puts them here, and it's still fucking awesome. Even some scenes that were already there, again, like I said, they take them, it just feels different with like some musical cues, or the way they made the lighting look like, it's just, they make some scenes that were already there, like, okay, whatever, but they made them so much more better here. So yeah, this movie's way better. I mean, yes, there are maybe some, I don't know if it's like some cheesy stuff, but it still has like that Zack Snyder stuff that just feels a little bit cheesy, man. You're trying to put a little too much in here. It's not really that much. There's nothing here to call attention to itself that I'm like, oh my god, this sticks out. I think he was, although he had a lot to do here, he was like the most kind of restrained I think I've seen in quite a while, especially in this universe. Like, he had more of a story that he wanted to say here, and not just like, oh, I'm gonna make these cool visuals in here and trying to add stuff in here that just doesn't make any sense. It had more of a good flow. So I don't know, maybe he needs 4 hours to do a fucking story, but I think he was the most restrained, but still had a lot to do and show us, you know, and tell us a story in this movie that I think I've seen him in quite a long time. So yeah, of course, the movie is fucking way better than the movie. Like, I hope they take this movie out on HBO Max. Like, nah, I'm kidding. Which I think they're kind of doing, because I couldn't even find the original. When I was trying to watch a movie, I could barely find it anywhere. Like, what the fuck is this movie? Well, previously it was like right there on the front page. Like when you go to DC Hub, I'm like, oh, it's right there. Now like, the action is great. I think, again, it's 4 hours long. There are some things in the middle that maybe a bit long, but the thing is, there's also what I love this movie. I didn't feel that there's anything in this movie that, oh my god, this didn't need to be here. This didn't need to be here. I felt like every scene had something of value, something that adds to the story, something that if you took it out, it would have taken some stuff out. You know, because there's a lot of scenes in like the middle or whatever that adds to these characters, adds to the story. Although maybe one scene, like it doesn't really have anything going on. It's just they're stretching out this one scene, like nothing really going on. But it's just Zack Snyder trying to do something, like, I guess, dramatic and have some flair to it. That's fine. Maybe some scenes are a little bit longer than they should be. But really, I just love this movie, man. I love every part of it. The action was pretty cool. Some scenes originally there, even some action scenes originally there, are way better in this movie. Like, oh my god, dude. I love this movie, man. I love this movie. I would give it like a 10 if I would, but I don't think I should give it a 10. I'd give it like a 9.5. It's a phenomenal movie. Like, if they decide to do a second movie, I don't know if I will sit down in the theater for 4 hours, unless they do the old school way. We're like, oh, we're gonna take a break in the middle of it. I don't know. It could be interesting, but if they do a sequel movie and they have the option of, oh, you can see it in HBO Max, I would sit the 4 hours. Whatever long you want to do it, I will sit there at home, not in the theater. But yeah, I love it. I love that we get to see Zack Snyder's complete vision fulfilled in this movie. And I hope, I'm not kidding, I hope he does come back. I hope that he can use this movie as something that can jump forward and continue developing this universe. Because I will say this universe has some complications. And I will talk about my thoughts on the whole DCU, as worked out, as not worked out. How are the individual movies? I will talk about it in a separate video. But for this movie, man, loved it. 9.5. Incredible. So let me ask you, what did you think of Zack Snyder's Justice League? Did you like the movie? Did you not like the movie? Did you like the characters? Who did you not like in the movie? Like, what stuff did you not like? Should they add some stuff? Should they taken up some stuff? Should have been shorter? Let me know in your comments. Let's discuss the movie. And also stay tuned for my spoiler-filled review, because there's a lot of things I would love to go deep in and talk about, but I just didn't want to do it right here. So wait it up for Sunday. We'll talk about it and we'll just have fun talking about this movie. So if you like this review, please give it a like, share, and subscribe for more reviews or different varied content. Whatever you want to see is already here, or I will do it because this channel is just diverse like that. So my name is Sebastián Productions. Yo soy aquí, hablando shit.